Hey everyone, welcome to another Facebook Live. My name is Geoff Palmer. I'm the CEO and founder of Clean Machine. This video is for informational and educational purposes only and is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. We're going to be talking about a pretty cool study here. Now, obesity has reached epidemic proportions here in the United States, with 60 to 70% of the people overweight or obese in the United States. This is something we really need to address. We're eating far too many calories, not getting enough exercise, and eating the wrong types of calories too. On top of that, that combination has led to a diabesity, which is a combination of obesity and diabetes, plague in the United States. And it's got to be reversed. So one of the more dramatic ways people are doing that is by bariatric surgery. Bariatric surgery is a direct approach to try to limit the amount of food coming in by either stapling the stomach, bypassing the stomach, or even putting a gastric sleeve on it. So what it is, basically you have your stomach like this, and then you put a sleeve around it and tighten it so it squeezes the amount of area or surface area, not surface area, but area that can hold food. So when you eat, you get full faster and you stop eating. That's the concept behind it. It's actually proven to be very effective at helping people drop weight. But it does mean cutting open your body and squeezing your stomach small. And the second drawback to it is that, unfortunately, when you lose body weight, you can also lose muscle and therefore strength. And this is not a good thing, especially if we have an elderly population. You don't want to lose strength. Now, this is also important data because it can be, to some degree, extrapolated and looked at and applied to people who are dieting. Okay, so when you diet, you're limiting the amount of calories coming into your body, and you're ideally exercising so that your calorie burn is exceeding the calories coming in. And in that process, you can end up losing body fat, which is great. But if that process is too accelerated, you can end up losing more muscle than with that body fat. So they looked at ways of, all right, how can we nutritionally give people an advantage so that they lose the fat without losing as so much muscle? Now, this was an interesting study because most of the bariatric is just focused on protein, and specifically whey protein. I'll talk about that a little bit later, but first let's jump into the study. Okay, so here's the study. The study is a 2024 study, so it just came out. Adding branched chain amino acids and vitamin D, D3 specifically, to whey protein is more effective than consuming protein alone in preserving fat-free mass. That's lean muscle. That muscle doesn't have fat. That's just the muscle. In preserving fat-free mass or muscle and muscle strength in the first month after a sleeve gastrectomy. Remember, that's putting a sleeve around the stomach so it reduces the amount of food that you can eat before you feel uncomfortably full. Okay, so the link is down below in the green there, and you can look up the study yourself. But let's dive into the actual details of the study. So they were consuming 40 grams of protein a day. Their D3 intake was 2,000 IUs a day. And their branch chains was actually pretty small. I was surprised that didn't use a little bit more branch chains in this case, but it was enough to stimulate a response. And we'll talk about muscle protein synthesis and branch chains in a second. So they're consuming 40 grams a day of protein, which is a good chunk. You can get that in a couple scoops of protein. Now, it doesn't have to be whey protein, although this study did use whey protein. And I'll show you how actually using plant proteins at the end of this can be better than even whey protein in the outcomes. All right. So what they found, and this was pretty amazing, that this study was in 57 patients, so it is a small study. It does need to be replicated with more people in a study to make sure of it, but this was a good initial test. It was isocaloric diet, so the calories were the same in both groups, those using only protein and those using protein, BCAAs, and D3. And after 4 weeks, those consuming the protein plus the BCAAs and D3 had 5% more muscle, more fat loss. They retained 7.3% more muscle and actually had almost a 15% more strength retained too as well. So they're keeping more muscle, keeping more strength, and losing more body fat than those consuming protein alone. This is pretty important because you're getting better results all the way across the board. More fat loss, keeping more muscle, keeping more strength. This is the ideal thing you want when you're dieting, because dieting can actually cause muscle loss, cause muscle strength loss. So let's dive into the conclusions of the study. And it showed that, this is direct quote directly from the study, verbatim, that protein plus BCAAs plus vitamin D supplementation is more effective than protein alone in determining fat mass, as how much fat was lost, and is associated with a lower decrease in lean muscle and muscle strength. So they lost more fat, but kept more muscle, more strength. Pretty impressive little study here. Now, again, it's a small study. It needs to be replicated, but the basics are pretty there, and it's supported by other studies like this one, vitamin D3. So this one, it was in 2022, so it's still a pretty recent study. Our serum 25-hydroxy vitamin D. 25-OHD is the active form of vitamin D3. When you take vitamin D3 as a supplement, it is converted into the body into 25-OHD. So that's what it's used and called in most of this research. So our serum vitamin D3 and its insufficiency risk factors for the incidence of dynapenia. Now, what is dynapenia? Dyna, like dynamo or dynamite, is strength, right? And penia is the loss or strength or a reduction of something. So it's basically strength loss. Dynapenia is the term for strength loss. Okay, so they looked at taking vitamin D3 for those who were insufficient. That means not critically low, but not at par levels, or deficient. Deficient means they were actually critically low in vitamin D3. Let's see what this study had to say. It was pretty wild. For those who did not use vitamin D3 supplementation, serum D3 deficiency had a 75% increase, over 75, was 77 and 78 in the study, in both deficiency and insufficiency in the increased risk of dynapenia, which is muscle strength loss. So just taking vitamin D3 can help you maintain your muscle strength. This was a pretty good sized study, so it was a pretty important one. And then, of course, there's lots of research out there showing that leucine, which is one of the 3-branch chain amino acids, it supports not only muscle protein synthesis, but muscle protein preservation, so preventing muscle loss. This BCAA study titled Leucine Enriched Essential Amino Acids, basically protein, supplementation during moderate steady state exercise enhances post-exercise muscle protein synthesis. So this one actually focused on muscle protein synthesis, which is our ability to make proteins that we can use to build muscle. But it also said an important part, and I'll get to that in just a second. These were the results of the study, that muscle protein synthesis was 33% greater after the consumption of leucine plus essential amino acids. Essential amino acids is basically, they're just saying the essential amino acids that are provided by basic proteins, whether it's whey protein, pea protein, or rice protein, they all have essential amino acids. That's what the body uses to build proteins for muscle tissue. Now, the L in front of that is leucine. So when you combine leucine with essential amino acids or protein, you got a 33% more muscle protein synthesis. That's the muscle synthesizing or making, creating proteins that the muscle can use to build and gain muscle. But for dieters, BCAAs can be even more important. Those looking to lose fat, this was also in the study, and these are direct quotes from the study. whole body protein breakdown, that is the breaking down of the proteins that are in your body, and synthesis were lower and oxidation was greater after consumption of leucine with essential amino acids compared to protein alone. So you can see that the protein breakdown or the loss of protein was greater than, was lower, excuse me. So you basically lost less muscle. It preserved more muscle simply by taking the branched chain amino acids. So this is really important. But what about the protein? In that previous study, we were talking about whey protein. Well, let's take a look at whey protein compared to pea protein. So this is actually the study, and the link in the green part down below. Pea proteins and supplementation promote muscle thickness gains during resistance training. This one's pretty solid because it's a double-blind, randomized, placebo-controlled clinical trial versus whey protein. So solidly designed study, a double-blind RCT. Okay, but before I get into the results of that study, let's go ahead and pull up the image and I'll explain the results, because the first study, let me remove that comment there. All right. So the first study, we're going to look right at the top there, plant proteins versus whey protein. In this particular two studies, we're looking at rice protein versus whey protein and pea protein versus whey protein. Okay, so they looked at 8 weeks, the effect of 8 weeks of whey or rice protein supplementation on body composition. That's the amount of muscle you're retaining compared to the body fat, and exercise performance. So the conclusion of that study, comparing direct amounts of rice and whey protein, found that there were no differences between the two groups. Now, it's interesting to point out that in these two groups, they used a higher amount of protein. So they used 48 grams of rice protein. That's a lot of protein. Why did they use that? Because you wanted to get your branched chain amino acid levels up to a critical point where it would maximally stimulate muscle protein synthesis. Okay, so let's take a look at pea protein study. This is the one that I just posted on the screen so that you'd have the link to the study and you could look it up yourself, because it's a pretty impressive study. This one directly compared pea protein oral supplementation to whey protein. Now, they titled the study Pea Protein Oral Supplementation Promotes Muscle Thickness Gains During Resistance Training, a double-blind, randomized, placebo-controlled clinical trial versus whey protein. So the conclusion of this was actually pretty surprising. Thickness increases were significantly different between groups. Now, most people would assume, oh, the whey must have performed better, and not true. Pea protein actually increased muscle 33% more than whey. Compared to whey, it was a 20% increase in muscle thickness. That is hypertrophy, or the amount of mass of muscle that you have. This is going to give you muscle size, but also probably some strength too as well, compared to the 15.6% by the whey protein group. Now, this one you also used a fairly high amount of pea protein. So why would this be the case? Well, it's because they're trying to get the amino acid, specifically the leucine content. When you eat more plant proteins, the higher you get, your higher of your level of BCAAs, specifically leucine, start to go up. So that's one of two ways you can maximize muscle gains on a plant-based diet, is to consume a higher amount of plant proteins. That will lift the amount of total branched chains you're consuming in your diet. Or you can eat the same amount of protein, but just add the branched chains. That's why I love branched chain supplements so well. I don't have to consume as much protein and still get 17-inch arms for a 60-year-old guy, when I should be losing muscle mass. I'm still gaining. So this is how you can do it, by simply adding those branched chains to your amino acids. So let's get back to the study and see what it found. This is the actual results of the study, and you can see we saw that right on the beforehand, that the pea protein actually increased muscle thickness significantly more, 23% more than whey protein. I think I misstated that before. I said 33%. It's actually 23%. But still, significantly more muscle thickness using pea protein than whey protein. Now, whey protein is really high in leucine, branched chain amino acids, but there's only 100 grams of amino acids and 100 grams of amino acids. Now, if a larger part of that 100 grams is leucine, then that means some of the other amino acids are less because there's only a finite number. There's of 100 grams of amino acids and 100 grams of amino acids. That's it. Now, in a cow that needs the whey protein, it needs a lot of leucine because it's trying to grow really fast. It's going from a 60-pound calf to a 600-pound cow in its mature state. So it's growing 10 times its body weight. Now, human beings go from 8 to 10 pounds at birth, and in 1 or 2 years are not growing anywhere near the 600 pounds. So we don't need as much leucine. We do need a critical amount of leucine, but we can get there by eating either a higher amount of plant proteins or simply adding branched chains. And then you can keep your proteins at normal levels. That's why I love branched chains. Branched chains help the body preserve muscle. So when you're dieting, they help prevent muscle loss. They help recovery, but they stimulate muscle protein synthesis too as well. So all of those things combined, let me see if I can actually bring up that picture. I'll do it on a separate one, but so when you combine the muscle strength benefits of vitamin D3 with the muscle sparing benefits and the muscle protein synthesis benefits of branched chains, adding that to protein, and that's why you can see such a profound difference in the outcomes here. So after just 4 weeks under gastric sleeve gastrectomy, where they're putting a sleeve on the stomach, forcing your body to consume less calories, just after 4 weeks, 1 month, those consuming protein plus BCA and D3 had greater fat loss, 5.3% more fat loss in 4 weeks. They retained 7.3 more muscle, kept more muscle. Remember, muscle burns calories even at rest. The more muscle you can retain, the more you can be burning calories. So when you drop that body fat, it starts to actually accelerate because you have a better fat to muscle ratio. The body composition is important. If you got more muscle, it's burning calories, and then you have less fat. That will help you not only lose fat faster, it'll help you maintain those losses better if you don't lose muscle. Because if you typically diet, you lose fat and you lose muscle, and then you gain the fat back. Now you have a worse ratio of muscle to fat. And that's where obesity starts to take off because you're burning less calories at rest, called your basal resting metabolic rate, because you have less muscle mass to be using that energy. So this is why these things are important. D3 important for strength, good for hormone levels too, to keep that level high, and also for making sure you're preserving that muscle. And then, of course, the BCAAs. So it's not just protein that will help you get results of a lean, healthy body mass with higher amounts of muscle, higher amounts of strength, and lower amounts of body fat. This is shown even in very extreme cases like surgery, bariatric surgery, where they're putting a sleeve around the stomach to suppress the amount of food intake you can. Just by changing the nutritionals, significant difference in the outcome in just 4 weeks. That's what nutrition can do for you. It's 5% more fat loss and only 7% more muscle gains, but that's just in 4 weeks. You keep going with that results, with that nutrition, and then add exercise to it. Remember, these are clinically obese people that are getting bariatric surgery, so they're most likely not doing significant amounts of exercise. Even if they are, they're probably just walking or doing some mild exercise. So if you're training and you want to gain more muscle, keep more strength while burning fat, preserve your gains, keep your gains that you've worked hard for, BCAAs with your protein and taking vitamin D3, that can be an awesome way. That's why I created these supplements specifically to work together. Why we make BCAAs, clean BCAAs made from non-GMO fermented corn, real natural ingredients, naturally flavored, all certified vegan, gluten-free, and free of soy. So I went out and found the best vegan D3 I could possibly find. It's an organic D3 and the first one to be purified down to 100% pure D3 from organic algae. This is really good because it's pure D3. You're not getting any other substrates like mushrooms produce vitamin D2. Vitamin D2 can actually interfere with your vitamin D3. Lichen can do the same thing. They produce vitamin D2. So you can get, if you're not getting a good supplement, you can get a mix of vitamin D2 and D3. So that's actually canceling out, potentially inhibiting some of your D3 effectiveness. That's why I love this organic vegan D3 called Veg D3. It is got published human science showing it increases up to 70 to 80% baseline to sufficiency within just a matter of weeks. This is really fast acting because it's 100% pure, it's organic, and it's vegan, certified vegan, gluten-free, non-GMO. Every single one of our products is. I was very happy to be one of the very first to bring this organic vegan D3 to market, and we're going to be having, oh, I shouldn't say it yet. Time sensitive. We'll have promotions all the time. Check out our website for more promotions. And also check out our YouTube channel for more of these amazing videos talking about all the research. Every week, I pick out the best research and bring it to you, break it down to real simple layman's terms, show you the good points, the bad points. I'll even break down some bad studies and tell you why they're not so good and why they may have a deep bias to them and may be telling you the wrong things. So check out our YouTube channel at CleanMachineOnline, and you can see videos on our D3, on our ahi flour, which we won the Nexty Award for. Right there, Nexty Award. That is the top supplement award in the United States, and we won it twice. For our protein, which we'll be relaunching again this summer, as well as our BCAAs right there. Our clean BCAAs, you can find them on Amazon as well as on our website. Amazing taste, 60-day money-back guarantee. If you don't like it for any reason, you can return it for your money back. That's what we give to you. We give you the research. I give you the straight up on the best ways to get the best results in the gym through your fitness, through your health, for you. Every week I'll break down these studies and I'll have surprise guests on here for more information too as well. Thank you for joining me. I hope you enjoyed this. If you do, give it a thumbs up, share it, like it. Leave me a comment if you have any questions about the research or any of the studies that I talked about. And again, I'll be back every week, every Thursday here at 4 Eastern time. So to bring you the latest information, cutting edge information. Boy, have I got a whopper of a study coming out too that I can't wait to talk to you about. Probably is going to be published this summer, but let's see if I can leak some of this information out, pre-publication date, and about some amazing omega-3 research, which is going to turn the nutritional industry, academia, and the scientific community on their head because they have been wrong for over 50 years, and we now have the proof to show otherwise. It's wonderful working with some of the top researchers, talking with them, actually having inner dialogue with them, and bringing this new data, even when some of the top plant-based doctors, who I really care about and see they're doing a lot of good things, do not have this information. That's why I bring it to you. That's why I'm doing it, because I think it's important for you to have the correct information. I always provide the links in the study so you can check it out. You can do your homework on it. You can dissect the study and make your own judgment to feel if this information is valuable to you to apply to you for your best health, for you and your family and the people you care about. Thanks for joining me. We'll be back next week.